Okay, welcome to episode 5 of the Tyler's Techcast. I'm joined here with Zero and special guest today, Rocco from BigDaddyLinux. How are we all doing?
Fantastic. Thank you for inviting me.
That's all right. You was actually one of the first people I had in mind to join, to sort of invite on, actually.
It's true. It's true.
So have you had a busy week?
It has been super busy. We started that new podcast, Linux User Space, so that has put a lot of extra pressure on editing and everything else. So Linux Spotlight has taken a back seat, and
Right.
as far as time wise, so then we had 2 live shows yesterday. So Saturday we had Biddle Europe, and then we had the regular Biddle, and yeah.
I always miss the Europe show because it's the only one I could realistically actually tune in for. Every now and then you might see me in the chat at like 2 in the morning my time for an American one for like 10 minutes, and I'm like, right, I'm gone.
I've been waiting for you to get there.
I'll do it. So we got a few topics today, and I think the main one and why you're such a good guest for it is kind of community of like just the Linux community as a whole, sort of its strengths and its weaknesses. And I thought we could all start by saying a bad experience that we've had that sticks out in our mind that we've had in the community, and then sort of expand from there.
Yep.
Who wants to go first? I know it's a tricky one.
Yeah, it is a tricky one, isn't it? I mean, I can think of an experience that I had, but it's not specific to the Linux community as such, but it is related to the PC community.
Yeah, that'll do it.
So I don't know. It was when I was looking to get my first gaming rig, and also slightly custom build it, possibly. And
I see you bought a ready-made one.
Yeah, so I bought an OEM one.
Yeah.
Only because at the time it was around when the first gen Ryzens first came onto the market, right? And it was when all the Spectre and Meltdown stuff was getting a lot of publicity as well. So I was like, I am absolutely not getting an Intel processor at this point. And I had there was this one dude who was like, well, why don't you just get a Core i9 or whatever? And I was like, because I don't need a Core i9, and also I don't grow money in my back garden. Like, come on. Right. And and I was like, look, it's hard enough for me to try and put all of these components together and try and work out what is going to be.
How old are you at this point?
This was 2 years ago, so I was like 23. But I was like, look, I have never built a PC before, but I do want to start getting into it, but I also don't want to have to worry too much about the compatibility and everything, and trying to buy the right power supply and try and buy the right cooler and try and buy all the right fans and all this stuff. So when I spec'd it all up and priced it up, at the time I was still getting student discounts, so I actually got a really good deal on the OEM build. And he was like, but for $500 more you could get all of this. And I was like, my dude, I do not need to spend $500 more when I can get exactly the same thing for $500 less.
Yeah.
And that it just, people that try and
it's kind
push better specs for no reason whatsoever for your use case, they really irk me.
It's like what's good for me should also be good for you kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah. That was the exact thing that was going on. He bought a 1080 Ti on the day that they came out or whatever at full price, and I was like, you're kind of an idiot, really, aren't you?
And what about you, Rocco?
Well, I've been in the community for a few years, so I have, witnessed all of the read the manual, kind of thing, talk in forums. And it was really bad years ago. When I started, it was really, really bad. It's gotten so much better though. But you still get, Tyler, you have had to have some crazy comments on YouTube.
Yeah, I'll get into some of them, yeah.
I've had some comments that are I don't know, people wishing death on you, and seriously, it gets really toxic in there.
Yeah. But my favourite comment that I've got actually, sort of in a negative way, is people just being really upset that I'm not American, which is a really strange one. I've
Really?
I've had people going, "Oh, you're British," and like getting really like aggro about the fact that I'm British, and I'm like, it's not too much I can do about that one, my dude. I'm afraid. It's a weird one.
Yeah, I don't get that.
No, I don't. Go on.
Is that better or worse than the comments about saying Mate wrong, though?
No, do you know what the new one is? Do you know what the new one is?
What's the new one?
Because sometimes I'll say Windows Manager and not Window Manager, and people are up in...
Oh, the Windows Manager.
Yeah. There's a big furore about that, and I'm like, okay, man, I'm sorry, I've added an S.
It doesn't take much.
No, it doesn't.
For YouTube. But overall, like the experience, like I said, has gotten so much better over the years. So we're in a good place right now. There's still loud, toxic people, but they're less and less.
I think it's overwhelmingly good, but I think sometimes it gets drowned out by the people that have got a bit too much time on their hands.
Yep.
Yeah.
So how?
That's like anywhere though.
Yeah, I think especially in online communities as a whole.
Yeah, definitely.
So with your Discord server, Rocco, do you take a sort of a hand in moderating anything in there, or do you leave it to sort of mods or?
Well, actually, I have some really awesome people in the community that help out with that. There's no way I could keep up with everything that we have going on. A couple of the mods like Adam Grubbs and Schickle, but there's one in particular, Scott Rocket Wolf.
Right.
He takes that and just runs with it, and he is always in there moderating all the chat, welcoming new people, and I couldn't do it without them guys.
That's what I'm trying to sort of get Zero to become for me at the moment. Actually,
you need that though.
No, you do. Do you host your own Mastodon server, or is that an unhosted one?
No, that's just linuxrocks.online, I think it is.
Right.
So,
I was thinking of doing that.
But Mastodon is weird a little bit, because if you pick the wrong instance and then you kind of want to switch to something else, then the profiles don't always come over.
I've not actually ever used it, so I'm not too sure about the actual workings of how it all works, to be honest. I was reading up on sort of making a server the other day because I was intrigued about the process of it. But it looks like an interesting way of doing things, I think.
Yep. So I was originally on, I think, mastodon.social.
Right.
Yeah. And then switched over to linuxrocks.online. So
how long have you been a part of the Linux community, Rocco?
Well, I would say, I'm going to say probably only since 2016.
Since the inception of your YouTube channel?
Since the inception of the YouTube channel. So I was kind of like below the radar a lot. When I started with Linux in 2004, but I didn't get into the forums. Like, I was there, but I didn't participate in them a lot. There wasn't the amount of communities that there are now, the accessibility to the communities there are now. There were communities, but they were maybe harder to get to, maybe not as easy. So setting up Mumble when you're new is not exactly the easiest thing. But clicking on the Telegram link is super easy. So,
yeah.
Oh yeah, totally.
I'm using Telegram less and less at the moment, actually. I don't know why. I think it's because no one else uses it. Apart from like a Linux sort of people, open sourcey kind of people, no one really uses Telegram, especially in the UK. Everyone uses WhatsApp.
Yeah.
So it's like trying to convince people to download an additional app on their phone just to talk to me is a bit of a... It's not going to really happen. I've done it for a few people, but that's about it.
I have that exact same problem.
It's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, I think for trying to convince people to use Signal as well.
Yeah.
Over Telegram, you just add in the extra layer.
Well, that's the problem with all the services. You have to go where the people are.
Yeah.
So if your group of people is not going to be on Signal, it's not going to work for you to have it installed.
Yeah.
What is the actual sort of selling point of Signal? It's more sort of privacy and secure, is it, or what is the whole...
I thought it was supposed to be encrypted.
Yeah, I'm not...
Yeah, it's fully end-to-end encrypted. So because the difference between it and Telegram, as far as I know, is that Telegram's servers are centralized,
Right.
Whereas Signal is like fully end-to-end encrypted between you and whoever else you're talking to, and it doesn't kind of go to their servers or whatever.
There's a little bit of sort of controversy over the actual encryption that's included in Telegram. I don't know if you've read about it.
Yep.
I'm aware of it, but I don't know what the full story is.
I think the encryption keys or something are on their own servers or something. I've not really looked too much into it, but I think
that's what the difference is.
Yeah. So to flip that sort of question on its head, what's something really good about the community that stood out to you?
I think the people themselves. I think the biggest thing that I have found is through doing this Linux Spotlight, which was just started to put Linux stories together in one place, your history into Linux.
It's a really good show.
Well, in doing that, you meet these people. I get to sit down with them and I talk to them for almost 2 hours sometimes. And you see how awesome they are and how many awesome people we have in the community. So the people are the real reason that we need to do our best to bring new people in, because everybody has something to offer, dude.
They do. What about you, Zero? Is there anything that sticks out in your head, or even like a individual instance of something that's happened that you've been like, wow, that's pretty cool?
I don't know. I think like on a similar note to Rocco, it's mostly about sort of the people that you do happen to meet through such a wide community, but with a common interest. I think some of it was when I started looking into some of the history of like OpenSUSE and stuff like that. I didn't actually realize that Greg Crow Hartman had worked at SUSE previously, and he was actually the guy that kind of came up with the idea for Tumbleweed to become a thing. And I didn't realize that before. Like, I don't think he works for SUSE anymore, but I didn't realize that he'd been like the guy that had kind of pushed Tumbleweed out into the world all those years ago. And I was like, actually, that's kind of cool. Like finding out little things about that.
So on like an individual level, I got a comment the other day. I can't remember which video it was on, but it was just something so small that actually made me go, oh, cool. Someone was like, thank you for keeping your mistakes in, because it's helped me sort of learn. Whereas someone would like jump on you for making a simple mistake, this person was like quite happy that I've not retroactively gone and edited out a mistake. I've shown me, realised I've made a mistake, then go ahead and fix it, and they've really enjoyed that. And to me, that was like, I don't know, put a smile on my face, that.
Yeah, like full disclosure.
Yeah, I just thought it was nice, yeah.
One thing I'd like to add to that is, I said about the people, but if you spend time in these Telegram groups, because a lot of the same people are in all of the Telegram groups.
Yeah, there's a lot of crossover.
You just see so many people spending so much time helping other people. I mean, it's amazing to watch these guys like Bill and Dan Simmons and Leo, and if somebody has a problem and they just jump right in and help them fix it. They don't, send them somewhere else, go to this forum. They actually jump in and help them. And that's awesome to see.
No, it is really good. So you're like a Pop OS guy, aren't you? I asked you this the other day, didn't I?
Yeah.
And you've been on there for a long time now, from what it sounds.
Well, I was a distro hopper for a long time, dude.
It's a disease we all get, yeah.
Yep. And right now, it's been, I think, a year and a half since being on Pop OS and not changing.
What is it that keeps you on Pop OS? Got some fluff.
I don't think there is one thing that keeps me on Pop OS. It's everything. It's the system itself. It's the attention to detail that they put in, System 76 themselves. It's their philosophies, and you want to be behind a company like that has philosophies like that.
Do you use the pop shell thing?
I do. I love it.
No, it's good. It's a really good feature. I really like it.
I didn't like it at first. I tried it, and I didn't like it.
I think it takes a bit of use to if you're used to just floating windows all the time. But I prefer KDE's Cronkite. Have you used that?
No.
So it's kind of a similar deal. So it's basically tiling window manager script for KDE. And I'm more of a KDE guy, so I really like it.
So it's a script that you start up every time your computer
starts up? No, it's a KWin script, and you can go into the KWin settings inside system settings in KDE, and you can enable it or disable it, but you can also sort of fine tune the gaps or the geometry or how you want it to behave, the sort of organization of it, and I just find it really cool. Yeah.
I noticed that you were very careful not to say the Windows manager.
I know, did you see that? I'm learning, see?
No, I don't think you can worry about those mistakes because
they're
going to happen regardless. Even if you didn't make a mistake, they're going to have people say to you, "You shouldn't say it this way."
100%. So in the Discord server that we had some just random flyby of I think it was a few accounts, wasn't it? Zero? How many?
As far as I know, there was just the one.
Right.
It's just the one that actually posted, but whether any of the ones that joined after that were related, I don't know.
So they were basically just trying to push this obscure distro for me to do a video on, and they did get me to do it, but then as soon as I realised what was going on, I just privated the video, and I was like, I'm not doing it. Because I woke up in the morning, I didn't see the original poster that was spamming this thing, but I woke up onto my Discord of about 4 or 5 random people that I've never seen in the Discord before ever. I'm sure it's the same person who's made multiple accounts, sending me direct messages asking me to sort of review this distro, and I was like, what's going on? So then I went on Twitter, and they followed me onto Twitter as well now. So on my Twitter there's people like sending me messages, and I've had to sort of just be like, I'm not doing anything with your distro, I'm afraid. And then I got an email as well, so they found my email, they've tracked me down, and they're now sending me emails. And I'm like, dude, I'm not going to do it. It's not going to happen.
I mean, from what you told me about this particular thing, it doesn't really qualify as a distro, though, does it?
Did I show you?
It's one of those yet another Ubuntu's, isn't it?
Did I show you the email?
No, you didn't show me the email.
Oh, I'll show you it after this.
Show me after the show, yeah.
But that was a funny one. And I think, I'm not sure what possesses some people to think that that's normal etiquette in any community to do that, to be honest with you. I'd never sort of look at someone on YouTube and be like, oh, I'd do this thing. I want them to watch me do this thing. And then just blow up all of this. It's so strange to me, that.
Yeah, you got that on YouTube.
Yeah. So, we've got a few other topics that's not quite community. And didn't you say, Rocco, that you did recently use Fedora?
We did Fedora on Linux user space, I think the previous month. Yeah.
And it was the most recent stable version 32, right?
Yeah.
And what was the takeaway thoughts on that?
I'll tell you what, it really wasn't a good takeaway as far as right in that snapshot. See, we started that show to try out our distro for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So in that 2-week period, we all tried Fedora, and we all had major problems with it.
Wow.
There was freezing going on. There was an issue where you would go to log in, and it would just hesitate for 30 seconds. And then you could log in. You get to the desktop, and you'd open anything up, and it would hesitate for like 30 seconds. This was going on with all of us. But I think it was a week or two after we got done trying it, they had fixed it. So I think we just got it at a bad patch.
Well,
yeah, just unlucky.
Yeah, I really quite like Fedora for GNOME anyway. I've kind of slowly gone away from GNOME, but if I was to use a GNOME desktop from a distribution like pre-packaged, it would probably be Fedora.
Yep. Yeah, again, I was excited to try Fedora, but it was just so unusable. Like, to be honest with you, I tried it for, I don't know, 25 minutes. So I can't even do anything. There's nothing that I can do, because every time you do something, it freezes up. And that was on AMD or NVIDIA. So it wasn't like it was just I don't know, something in the background that was running that was causing it to do that for all of us. And
it must have been an actual issue. If it's affected everyone, then it was the same issue that was occurring. Yeah.
Yep.
So moving forward, then what do we think about the move to ButterFS for the next release?
Well, I think that Fedora is always on the edge of trying, that stuff that may not be quite ready yet. I don't know if ButterFS is ready to be default.
Sacrilege! I really like it.
Liking it and saying it's the default, That's a tough one.
They've had the same file system structure now since version 11, I was reading earlier, so it is a big change because they've been sort of steadfast in their ways of ext4 for quite a while, haven't they?
Yep.
What about you, Jiro? What do you think of the move? Because I know you've always kind of been an OpenSUSE kind of guy, so you'd probably have quite a good insight.
Yeah, so...
Did you just wince at OpenSUSE? God.
No.
So it's interesting because when I was speaking to, I think it was Conan the other week, the way they're implementing Btrfs on Fedora is actually slightly different to the way it's implemented in OpenSUSE. So OpenSUSE creates subvolumes for certain directories to use under Btrfs, which I gather Fedora is not going to do that. Fedora is just going to make a standard partition that's Btrfs, and I don't know that they're going to make use of snapshotting quite in the same way either.
I'm not too sure what's going to make it into it, because I've been reading things about the compression and everything else, and I don't think they fully know what's going to make it into the actual finished product yet, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and it's like, it's released not like next month or something?
Well, there's a pre-release ISO, I think it's a pre-release. I was playing around with it the other day, so you can currently sort of test it as it is right now.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, it's interesting that kind of a sub-project of Red Hat is kind of going towards Btrfs when Red Hat themselves dropped it sort of, that year or so ago in favor of whatever their solution is. Is it Stratus or whatever it's called with XFS?
Yeah.
So it would be interesting to see how the change in Fedora makes changes to CentOS and to Red Hat, I think.
I think it will eventually probably make its way there, to be honest.
Yeah.
Just touching on that a minute, what is Stratus? What is the actual deal with that? Because obviously XFS, what have they done?
Oh God, I don't know. I know that it's like a layer over top of XFS that I think when I researched it ages ago, it was effectively something that Red Hat had made to add features of other file systems into a layer on top of XFS. So to basically take the speed and reliability of XFS and add stuff like snapshotting and volume management and all that stuff on top of it. But whether that's what it is now or if that is truly how it functions, I actually have no idea.
And did you manage to pinpoint the issue that you was having with your disk setup at the moment with your file system?
Oh, with ZFS.
Yeah, do you want to briefly explain what was going on?
Oh God.
Briefly.
So ZFS and gaming, bad times.
So are you back on Btrfs now?
So yeah, because I've now reinstalled OpenSUSE, I'm now back on Btrfs. But yeah, ZFS was kind of like doing some really weird stuff that I'm sure I could probably fix if I understood it more, but I just don't.
So Rocco, what you standard ext4 on your Pop OS machine?
Yeah, I mean file systems are tough, dude, and I'm not into trying them and see, if this one works, if I might lose data, or I'll let you guys do that and I'll be fine waiting in the background.
So what is your machine then that you actually use predominantly? You
mean the hardware or?
Yeah, like Intel, Ryzen, what are you rocking?
I have the main machine is an Intel i9
right
with a 2080 video card in it and 32 gigabytes of memory. The test machine, which is why I don't hop around, I use the test machine to test distros out. That has an AMD processor in it, and it's pretty much all AMD in that. So
yeah,
I'm a 580 in it.
I'm fully AMD these days. I don't have a test machine as such. I have test disks.
But that works though.
No, it does. It does.
But the test machine is way better, though. I got to tell you that.
Yeah,
you don't have to mess with the boot or the grub, nothing. It's just. Yeah.
I'm thinking of just sort of knocking a quick little rig together. I've got like so many spare parts. It doesn't need to be an amazing PC or anything. It just needs to do the job to test it. And I've probably got enough parts in my cupboard over there to just build one, to be honest.
Yep.
And what is your machine, Zero? What have you got?
Which one?
Your main one.
My main one.
Yeah.
My main PC it's got AMD processor, AMD graphics card, one M.2 drive, and two spinning rusts.
Do you play many games, Rocco?
Usually games I play are not on Linux.
You
that's
play it
not
on
popular
Windows. That's all right. We
Yeah.
got no hate here for the Windows guys.
The Windows Manager is it?
Yeah. I don't. I dual boot, but not on the same disk. So I have one disk with Windows and one disk with Linux.
Do you know what I'm going to start doing? I'm going to stick to calling it Windows Manager, but then just calling Windows Window.
Window 10.
Window 10, yeah.
But to be honest with you, I use Windows just like a console.
Right,
so
yeah,
I'm in
makes
Linux
sense.
all day long. I boot into Windows to play games that obviously can't play on Linux, which is like Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then boot right out of Windows as soon as I'm done playing and boot back into Linux. So it's more of a console than anything.
Yeah.
See, that's interesting because one of the things that made me switch full-time to Linux was when Steam's Proton got released, and I realized that the two games that I thought were Windows only at that point ran within it, and I was like, so why am I keeping Windows around? Like, why do I need it here? So I just got rid of it and started using Linux full time. So it was kind of like the opposite thing. I was booting to Windows just for these two games and then ended up not having to.
In certain instances, Linux is starting to perform better in certain games than their Windows counterparts. It's obviously very much still heavily weighted in one direction, but it's catching up, I think.
We have so many games to play in Linux now that, through Proton, Steam, whatever, there's always that anti-cheat stuff that is in games that is going to keep that going. And I don't know, unless they make it work with Linux, I think there'll always be those couple AAA titles.
I think I read something about that recently, actually. I can't remember off the top of my head, though, but I think there is work towards some sort of easy anti-cheat that would allow us to play those games.
That would be great. I think that for those that, if you don't play those type of games, I think you could easily switch to Linux and play most games out there.
So, Zero, are you still on the Spyro hype train at the moment?
Oh no! We passed the Spyro hype train a long time ago.
How did that end for you?
Good, because I 100%ed it and got all the achievements on Steam. So now I've uninstalled it and I will never touch that blasted game again.
Are you that guy? Are you that guy that has to get every achievement?
Oh no, it's just because it was really easy to get all the achievements, so I did it.
I'm definitely not that guy. I hated so when I used to play consoles on the Xbox 360, I had a friend that was obsessed with getting every achievement of a game, right? So you could have finished the game, but he's still playing it literally out months after everyone else has finished with it. He's like, I've got to get this achievement. I'm like, what are you doing with your life? Move on.
Yep. I finished the game and that's it. I'm done.
Yeah,
I don't have to get all of those.
I haven't played a proper single-player, story-driven game to finish in ages, though.
You should maybe try Call of Duty. It was good.
I hate Call of Duty.
Oh, come on. All right.
It's like a sort of a first-person shooter game with the training wheels on. To me, anyway, that's what it feels like.
What games are you into?
To be honest, all I pretty much play these days is Counter-Strike Go, and that's very sporadically now because I don't have time. So I work full time, and then when I'm not working, I'll be sort of working on a video or something, and then I'll have like an odd, because a game of Counter-Strike, if you play a sort of a full game, is not like, oh, you can just play for 10 minutes. A game can be up to like 45 minutes of just like a single match. So it's like I'm not playing games that much at the moment, which is a bit sad.
Yep.
So has anyone tried any of the newer distros that have just come out? Manjaro and Deepin?
No, I have not. But I do know somebody that is sitting on Deepin right now, and seems to be loving it, but I don't know whether they're having sort of any issues with it or not.
I think with Deepin, it's just a visually very nice desktop. As a daily driver, I'm not sure it would ever sway me to use it in place of what I currently use, but it's very nice to look at.
I love the transparency of Deepin, and it is very nice to look at, but there are some, we were talking about this on Biddle last night, there are some inconsistencies in the
Which ones?
The UI, that, like, okay, for example, the menu, the main menu, like the spacing on those icons are just not right.
I also don't like the new category view with the big panes. You've seen it.
Yep.
It seems like it was designed just for the idea of a touchscreen to swipe left and right. Visually, that was the one thing that I wasn't too sort of happy with, to be honest with you. And I'm still umming and erring about how much I like rounded corners on everything.
Well, somebody had brought up yesterday that they thought that Deepin was built on GTK and Qt, a mix of it, and which is why there may be some inconsistencies.
Yeah.
That is very funky monkey if that's what they're doing.
Yeah. All I know is it is really nice to look at overall, but it definitely has some areas that are just really small that maybe a lot of people wouldn't notice, but I noticed them because I noticed that.
I've got a bit of a hot take on it, actually. I think I preferred the previous version's desktop.
Really?
Yeah, and the only reason I didn't, so I done the Deepin video the other day, and it was like, it took me like an hour to actually get through everything. The raw file was massive, but I managed to cut it down to like 47 minutes, which is still far too long for a Distro video. Like, honestly, I got to the end of that and I was like, I want to go to bed. That has been far too much for me to actually do for a video. But
wow.
Yeah, then the next day I was like, because not every distro at the moment's obviously got the newer version yet. I think Ubuntu DDE is still on the older version, isn't it? I do believe Ubuntu DDE.
Not sure.
Probably, yeah.
But on the older version, I don't know if they're going to implement it on a new one. You can download Deepin Top Bar, right? Which is basically, think of the equivalent of like a GNOME top bar. Because the thing that's always seemed a bit weird to me of Deepin is having a dock or something at the bottom, but then nothing at the top. It's a weird paradigm to me. So what I really liked about the previous version is that you could just download Deepin Top Bar and kind of have like almost like a GNOME kind of layout, but with just more pretty eye candy to it.
Right.
So Manjaro, what do we think of Manjaro?
Well, we tried Manjaro on Linux user space right after Fedora, and
the new version, or
it's not the brand new one that just came out 2 days ago.
Okay, yeah.
It was the latest at the time, and I love Manjaro. I think it's awesome. I did the KDE version. They customize it very nice. It's very professional looking. I think the one thing that we talked about with Manjaro though was that it drives me insane when people recommend Manjaro for new users.
I actually agree with you on that one as well. Yeah.
Oh man, that's like my absolute pet hate.
I think we've talked about it before, haven't we? Yeah.
It's my absolute pet hate.
Well, there was all those videos coming out from Linus Tech Tips about gaming on Linux, and Manjaro
was on every single video. Yeah.
It was like pushed.
I made a video about that, just sort of like talking about the hype of Manjaro. As soon as that video came out on Linus Tech Tips, the amount of people that were like, I'm going to go download Manjaro. I was like, why? But yeah, no, it happened. It had like a Streisand effect almost on Manjaro. It was strange.
But think about this now. The first thing that pops up when you install Manjaro, you boot into it, the first thing that pops up is, hey, there's a new kernel. Do you want to you should update your kernel. Like, you don't want to tell a new user to update their kernel. I
think they do now do like the LTS image release. I don't know whether they'll include like the 5.4 kernel, I think.
Yeah. But a new user shouldn't have to worry about that, is what I'm saying.
No, I 100% agree. Yeah.
It's not Manjaro's fault that happens, that they get recommended. It just drives me insane that they get recommended for new users.
I can imagine like some update for a new user that would come and just break something and wipe certain things away, and they would just literally be pulling their hair out, not knowing what to do.
Yeah.
And that
And
makes
that
me
might
laugh a
be
little.
their first experience in Linux, and maybe their last because of it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think it should be a beginner distro for anybody, but it is kind of positioned as that. I do see.
Not sure why.
I think it's even like their tagline is like a desktop for everyone or something, isn't it? Like an easy to use. What is it? Yeah, check that.
Let's find out.
I'm pretty sure it's something along the lines of like an easy to use desktop for everyone or something.
Free operating system for everyone.
There we go. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think it is for everyone.
Enjoy the simplicity.
Exactly. This is what I mean.
Look, if you're into Linux already for a little while and you want to dip your hand into that kind of world, like the Arch world and stuff, it's great. It's perfect. And you're willing to learn, it's great. Not for a new user.
I still think the best distro for a new user is either Ubuntu or Linux Mint, and I've always thought that, to be honest. I used to just think it was straight Ubuntu, but recently I've been really enjoying what Linux Mint have been doing in just sort of a way of helping new users actually get to grips with what they're doing. I know certain people feel a way about that, but I think it might be overtaking Ubuntu in just usability at the moment, from a new user's perspective.
Yep. I think that I used to recommend Linux Mint. I don't really now because of the whole Snap controversy.
Yeah, I was about to say you had a thing, didn't you? I don't think I watched all of it actually. Do you want to summarize it?
Well, I mean, I think that I want to be careful here because Linux Mint is a great distro.
Well, this can also bleed into, I guess, sort of the community side of things as well, because obviously Snap is a very contentious thing. It's kind of split down the middle of people who are for and who are against. But go on.
Well, they basically removed Snap from being able to be installed in the system, and they went about it wrong, in my opinion. That was the wrong thing to do. They could have went about it many different ways. They could have, well, first of all, their blog posts basically badmouthed Ubuntu, said it was a backdoor into your system and all of this stuff. And
it's quite a spicy blog post.
Yeah, it's not a backdoor. Come on, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I don't use Snap, not because I try to not use any universal packaging formats, and if I'm going to use one, I'm a bit weird. I'll use an app image.
You don't have to like snaps. You don't have to use them.
No.
But I didn't think it was in their place to do what they did. They are the distro that everybody recommends to new users. So now I recommend a new user to Linux Mint. They use Chromium, okay, for their browser. They can't get it.
No, that is a good point. They can't use it.
So it's not so it's not that they can't get it. They could go through terminal commands and do all of this stuff to the workaround. But you're talking new users. You don't want to put that roadblock in there. And they're the ones that always took away the roadblocks. It's against everything that they've always stood for, basically. And why couldn't they have put a switch in the menu, in the welcome screen, to say, do you want Chromium or do you want snaps? Yes or no?
Was it not mentioned that was going to be something that was going to be making it into the final release? Because I remember in the beta, it was pretty much snaps not going to happen, but I swear they updated their blog post to say that they are going to kind of signpost an easy way for users to re-enable it. Did that ever happen?
I don't know if that ever happened. I didn't see that happened, so I wish it would happen.
I'm not aware of it happening.
Are you aware of it being said, though? Do you remember when it was... I'm sure that it was mentioned in a blog post somewhere.
I know that they were going to have that thing that was supposed to explain why you couldn't install the packages, and then it was like, were they saying in that they were going to link to instructions on how to re-enable it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was a thing.
Yeah, but
you can re-enable it.
Yeah,
I do know that you can re-enable it, but it's not something that you're going to hand a new user to do.
Yeah,
there's not. So that's why I don't recommend it right now, because I think it went against their philosophy and of taking the roadblocks out of the way.
So would you still just recommend straight Ubuntu to a new user then?
I don't run into many new users anymore, but there's always distros out there like There's always distros out there like Zorin. Even elementary would be perfectly fine.
I think
for a new user.
It depends where they're coming from for elementary. I think if you're coming from Windows, I don't know how useful elementary might be to make that instant transition.
Well, it definitely would be a change, but I guess it all depends on who you're giving it to. So there's always those questions you would ask. You know, what do you need? What do you use the computer for? And what do you like to see? Those questions have to be asked regardless of what distro you recommend. Yeah,
I suppose. Maybe it's just me then, but I have to just recommend. I get emails from people asking me. No, I do. I get emails going, look, I've used Windows and I want to use Linux. Can you recommend a dish? And to be honest, I recommend Linux Mint.
That's okay.
Yeah, no, it is. I'm not too worried about the whole argument of the snap thing. Like, kind of like you, but from a different point of view. You either use it or you don't, is kind of where I'd fall on it, and I'm not going to sort of argue either for or against.
I don't know why there's so much hate out there for it. If you want to use it, use it. If you don't want to use it, don't use it.
Yeah, I think that kind of stands for anything, though. And I can understand why there is a bit of a pushback against it. There are certain reasons why someone might not want to use it.
Yes.
But again, it's their choice to make that decision, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But then that's
what Linux is all about, dude.
But then I would also extend that decision to Linux Mint as well.
Yep.
So what else have we got on the topic 0? Have we got any others?
You had GNOME 3.38.
Yes, actually, that was a good one. Have you read any of the sort of new features that are coming to GNOME 3.38?
Feels faster trademark.
Yeah, that is kind of the thing, isn't it?
Release.
There is, I think they're taking some stuff away, aren't they? As opposed, they're adding. I think they're sort of jazzing up the screenshot tool, and actually, it looks quite cool. The new screenshot tool.
I have not seen any of what they're going to add on to it, so I don't know.
So, do you remember when there was that
new wallpaper?
new wallpaper? Yeah. Well, no, they've got a new welcome app, improved fingerprint support, better applications grid. That's the thing, actually. I kind of hate GNOME's application grid.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's ever made that much sense on a desktop, but I know that some people really like it.
I really enjoy it. I do.
Yeah. I guess.
Go on. I think the way the menu is perfect. You have everything you need pretty much in there. All of you have menus and workspaces all in one thing. Easily switch to anything. Keyboard driven. Yeah,
the overview is really sort of intuitive, but the animations to me feel so slow, especially when you're doing that show all applications and then they all come at you at like a snail's pace. So I use that, what's that extension called? Impatience. I'll use Impatience on GNOME, which just speeds everything up and makes it a bit better.
Yep.
But then I haven't used GNOME on an actual daily driver for a very long time now, actually. So are you a GNOME guy?
I was not ever a GNOME guy.
Right.
I was a KDE guy. I started the YouTube channel on KDE and was for years. But, I still love KDE. But we have this love-hate relationship that, man, you install KDE and you look at this feature and it's awesome. And you look at this new feature and it's awesome. And you're so excited to be able to change all of this stuff. And then something crashes and the system settings crash and then the bug tracker crashes and then the menu crashes that's my experience on KDE.
The worst thing with KDE is the settings. Trying to find a specific setting and it's hidden in some weird thing, like it's such a mess, the system settings on KDE.
Yep. Well, it can be deep, and that's why I did the series on the settings. But like I said, I trying to flip back and forth. Didn't like GNOME when I first tried it. Made fun of it, did the whole thing, ran through that whole gamut, and then actually gave it a real try with an open mind, and it just works. Like everything, I don't have to worry about things crashing in GNOME.
You never get the report problem now or anything?
Nope. I don't get any crashes.
Anyway. So when are we going to see the next Big Daddy Linux distro review then?
I think you're going to see one of those, dude. No, like I said, the content has switched, and the content is not for everyone because a lot of people like your videos where you're reviewing distros and you're talking about applications, where the content on my channel is basically Linux Spotlight and the live streams.
I really like the Linux Spotlight. I binge watched a load of them a few weeks ago, and I was like, this is a really good show. I think that's probably my favourite thing that you do is actually the Spotlight. I think it's really good. So what came up? What inspired you to do that then? The Spotlight.
Well, we were on Biddle, the live stream,
yeah,
and I was talking to Zeb and a few other guys, and we had just started to talk about their Linux history on the live stream. And I thought to myself, wouldn't it be a great thing to have it all in one place and just do a separate interview for everybody? So that's what I started doing.
Have you watched much of the Spotlight Zero?
I have to be honest and say no.
You should go ahead and watch. There's some really good ones.
Yeah. I need to I have a bunch of stuff that just ends up getting added to my perpetual sort of extending queue of things to go and watch because I just don't have time for a week. It's so much content.
Yep.
There is. So what do you tend to watch mostly on YouTube, like not Linux related? I'm kind of intrigued.
Me?
Both of you. So when you're not watching something to do with Linux, what do you like to do just to relax and watch something on YouTube?
So at the minute I'm trying to, it's not necessarily on YouTube because not a lot of stuff is actually, I watch the GDQ, the speed runs and stuff sometimes.
Oh, do you?
Games. Yeah. If it's games
speedrunner out here.
Well, I watch them. I don't do it. I watch some of them to sort of see it's kind of funny watching some of the runs. At the minute though, my main task is to try and get through all of the seasons of Star Trek Voyager.
Are they on YouTube?
No, they're not on YouTube. They're on Netflix. But I'm trying to do it.
Yeah, I could never get into Star Trek. It's not for me.
No. I took a while. Voyager is it's testing me.
You could lose your Linux card for saying that, you know.
Who I could?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone ever gave me a Linux card anyway. I just pretended I had one. Yeah. I just found one and repurposed it and put my name on the top.
Nice.
What do I watch on YouTube? To be honest, I don't really. What do I watch on YouTube? No. Linux stuff at the moment. I think my life's a bit too consumed with Linux stuff. I need to find a hobby, I think.
Well, I'll veer off into hardware. So, a lot of the hardware reviews, all of the stuff on the NVIDIA 3090s coming out, 3080s and whatnot, I get into hearing about those.
Are you going to pick up one of the new ones?
I might have to take out a loan to get a 3090, but oh my god.
How much are the 3090s then? Because they've got an entry-level one that's kind of sitting around 500, haven't they?
Yeah, I think the 3090 is $1,400, and the 3080 is $799. And 3060. So, I mean, I would love to have one. And the thing about it is, there's such a jump from the last generation. It's not even funny. So it's definitely worth the upgrade. But holy mackerel, is that a lot of money?
Do either of you play anything on consoles?
No, I used to, and then I switched over to PC gaming because I was I'm basically playing everything with a controller anyway, except I can play it with better graphics.
I haven't touched my console in ages, actually. Yeah.
No, I years ago, Zero, I played console, but I switched over. I think 2005 when Medal of Honor came out.
Do you play Call of Duty online?
I do.
Do you?
Yep.
Are you good?
Not really.
What was that game, Zero, that we tried to get a little tournament going in the Discord?
Was it Hedge Wars?
I think it might have been.
Hedge
I've never even played it, but I think we could probably get one going now that there's more people actually involved in the Discord.
Oh, yeah, we totally could.
I think we should start a Hedge Wars tourney. Have you played Hedge Wars, Rocco?
No, I have not.
There
No.
we go. So there was a question, wasn't there, Zero, in the Discord?
Oh, yeah. Let me find it.
Do you want to put it up? I think it's a good question. I think it's going to be hard to answer, though.
Yeah. Do you want me to read it out?
Yeah, read it out.
So the question we had, it comes from a user called 00, whose identifier I will not read out on Discord. Their question is, why isn't there many software developers for FreeBSD as there are for Linux? FreeBSD and its derivatives are great operating systems and used to be ahead of Linux a long time ago, but now it's the other way around.
Does someone want to take that on?
Wow, that's tough, dude.
It is a tough one.
Like you and I were having a chat about this earlier, weren't we?
Yeah, so where I kind of stood in it was, I don't think it's as much of a license issue as you probably did.
Yeah. So I kind of thought that the main problem, at least, was down to, in some ways the licensing. Because the BSD license, like the main things, I mean, there's probably going to be some people from sort of the Free Software Foundation and all that will come into the comments of the video now being like, you're totally wrong. But the way I understand it is that the BSD license is basically like, you can do whatever you want with this code. If you want to make money off it, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you take it and make tweaks and make money off it for proprietary software, that's fine. You're under no obligation to share your changes back to the main code base. Whereas the GPL is like, if you make changes to this code, you have to also make them available under the same license. There is no question about that.
Does that go for it's the same as derivative work as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And the BSD license has like that slight difference, as far as I know, anyway. But we were saying it earlier as well about sort of the timing.
Yeah.
For Linux as well, more than anything, coming onto the scene. It's in like, the 90s or whatever it was that it started.
It caught the momentum, didn't it?
Yeah, it caught the whole, all of the other stuff going on, like Microsoft expanding, Microsoft having the whole, years-long lawsuit about anti-competitive practices, and with the emails that good old Bill was sending about, embracing and extending and everything. And I kind of think that to some extent, that I don't know if you've seen it, Tyler. There was a documentary film that was released some time ago called Revolution OS.
I think I did see that.
Yeah, and I watched that, and that was actually quite interesting about sort of watching how Linux came about and everything about sort of some of these practices that were going on. I think, it just kind of snowballed almost. Whereas I don't know that BSD ever had a moment like that.
That's why I'd say it's more of the momentum of like the user base adopting to it, and then once something's starting to grow, it's as long as it's good, it's going to continue to grow, and more people are going to get to it had they have not got the original momentum when it first started. Because if it was purely a licensing thing, then how would you explain other things that aren't GPL but are very, very popular? I don't think it's purely just a licensing thing.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of, it would be interesting to sort of ask, even some of the sort of BSD community members what their thoughts are.
Good BSD YouTubers, Robo Nuggy.
Yeah,
yes.
Robo Nuggy.
He'd be a good guy to ask about that, actually.
Yeah.
If you're watching, Robo, put it in the comments and don't laugh at us for getting anything wrong.
People still use BSD? I'm just kidding.
Do you know what?
No. I know a couple of people that there's one user in our Mint Discord server that she uses OpenSUSE Leap and also has FreeBSD installed somewhere.
I actually have an instance of BSD running as well every now and then, and
Yeah, you've got BSD as well.
Yeah, there's certain things about it that I do quite like. I mean, part of it might even just be like, liking a niche thing or something. When you get that kind of thing where you're like, I like this because it's a bit more nerdy or less people are using it or something. But I think it's fun to use. I don't know, because I like to try anything anyway. And I think it's okay. I know there's less of a sort of. I don't think there's a community of hundreds of thousands of BSD users that are all posting about it in forums and stuff, but I think it does certain things really well, I think.
I use BSD, by the way.
Someone just said that.
I don't.
Have you ever used BSD in any iteration before, Rocco?
No, I have not.
Have you used Zero?
When I first built my media server at home, it was with the full intent that it was going to run FreeNAS.
You've got an argument against FreeNAS though, didn't you? Because I remember when I said to you that I was using it for a little server, you had a bit of a cry.
Yeah, what did I?
I think you did.
Remember?
I think
did I?
Yeah,
I can't remember that. I do like some of the features of FreeNAS. It was nice, but I remember what it was.
There we go.
It doesn't have a firewall.
Yeah, who needs firewalls?
It doesn't ship with any form of firewall at all. And when I did some digging, because it is marketed as kind of a semi-professional product that they intend for sort of businesses and people to use as well.
I think you'd be surprised about the use of it. I would say it is probably professional to a certain degree, to be honest.
Yeah. And I was kind of like, my argument was, if it's intended for use in a business that is going to be storing all of its critical files on there, it should have some form of security in the form of a firewall. Like, I'm sorry, but can
you not set up a firewall on it?
I think you can, but when I tried to look into it at the time, it might be a little bit simpler now, but when I looked into it at the time, it was kind of like, as to whether it would work or not. And they also said that it was an unsupported configuration, so I was like, amazing.
It's always good when it says something like that.
Yeah.
So I guess to wrap things up, what do we all think what could be like a fundamental thing, moment, or change that could happen to make Linux become, obviously not that's never going to happen, the year of the Linux thing, I don't think anyway, but what do you think could elevate it past its current sort of trajectory that it's currently on?
That's a tough question, dude.
Because
we're on a good trajectory right now with the amount of hardware vendors that we're getting, like Lenovo and whatnot, but I don't know if there's something that would really skyrocket us.
Mm-hmm.
I think we just need to be, better as a community to not scare off people when they do try it. I don't think there's something that's going to push us like a rocket.
Do you think we need it though as well? I've always wondered about this sort of unattainable thing that people try and say the year of the Linux Day. Is it that attainable that we really want it that much? Do we want it that much really? I don't know if we do. Because I think when something gets too large, things get influenced in different directions that we might not like.
I think we do. Or I think some of us want it, but I think you're right that it would probably not be the exact same as it is right now.
It wouldn't be able to be, I don't think.
Right.
What about you, Zero?
I mean, I don't think that the year of the Linux desktop, much as its thing, I don't think it will ever happen.
No.
And I think it will never happen purely because of the nature of Linux. And the nature of technology. Technology is constantly changing, and the kernel is constantly changing with it, to the point where, unless we have like 5 years where there is literally no technological development whatsoever in the course of humankind, I don't think we're ever going to reach a point where Linux suddenly explodes and starts being, used everywhere, because it can run everywhere. It would just be, almost impossible.
I think it's one in certain areas already anyway, I think.
Yeah, like in web servers and stuff.
And even just everyone's got some kind of form of Linux in their pocket these days. It's obviously not like real Linux and stuff as we think of it, but it's a shoot off of Linux, isn't it? You know.
Yeah.
And when I was in college doing a bit of ICT stuff, pretty much all the embedded system stuff that we was doing again was all Linux.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that question gets asked on Linux Spotlight every episode. And there's so many good answers, so many different answers. Some people take it and think about it as a serious conversation like we're doing here. And some people had great answers like Cubicle Nate. And he said the year of the Linux desktop is the year that you found Linux.
Yeah, I think that's a
the
good
year
way
the
of doing it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a personal thing.
So what year? 2016, but you was using it before that, wasn't it? So what was...
Yeah, I'd say 2006 would be probably when I was running it full time, I guess.
So that was the
I had
year of the
tried it.
Linux desktop for you.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else anyone wants to say before we wrap things up?
I don't have anything to add.
Nothing at all, Zero. You
No.
can't believe it.
My thoughts
I can't believe it.
Day, man.
Okay, well, thanks for joining us, Rocco. And if I'm going to imagine everyone that's subscribed to my channel is already subscribed to BDL, but if you aren't, there'll be a link in the description below of this video. Take it easy. No worries, man. No, it's really nice to have you on, Rocco. Actually, it was good.
Yeah, it was lovely to have you on, mate.
We're getting even better at these outros, aren't we? All right, see you later. Bye.